schools business in Australia, I think, is pretty robust. It won't do anything spectacular, but I don't think there's any risk in that. The other thing is on the test of English, is that a lot of it is linked into contracts, which with migration authorities. You've got to be incredibly controlled because of, people are paying $200 for that. If there's issues in terms of, how the product actually works, whether there's enough tests and everything else, a number of questions, and there needs to be investment in the platforms that are used for that. And if you ran into a sort of a risk where there was a political scandal, if you like, around sort of tests being too easy or too difficult, I think there's a risk there. But it's, the high-risk businesses that were in there, which was the UK schools tendering, some of the businesses in Central Eastern Europe, have all been downsized fairly significantly. So the company got out of publishing in markets like Russia. So I would say that there is downside, but I think it's downside that is more driven by external factors, frankly, than internal factors.
Okay, so it's nothing too crazy.
What it does need to do, however, is it needs to execute the plans that are in place for centralizing logistics across Europe. So at the moment, there's warehouses everywhere. The single ERP system, simplifying back office. There's customer service people in every single country. There's customer help people in every single country. So there's a very solid plan to reduce that. That has started to be executed, but they've got to see that through. And that's probably the biggest part of the profit improvement that would come in that region.
Gotcha. Okay. And I guess kind of in terms of near-term expectation for this business, I mean, it shouldn't look too different, I guess, like this year.
No, frankly, it's been around the sort of, it's hovered between, the growth in the last couple of years has come from two things. One is a pickup in the number of students in the United Kingdom, and that's just purely a bubble in terms of a demographic piece that actually sort of kicked through. And obviously the Pearson Test of English in Australia. The other businesses are flat or slightly down. So, that business has always hovered around that 750, 800 million in terms of revenue. And I wouldn't expect it to do anything dramatically different than that over the next 2 to 3 years.
And the same for profits, I guess. I mean, unless
same for profits. I think the cost savings. The one thing the core division did very, very well is that it did sort of implement many of the cost savings. It did more of the UK organization has been cut by about sort of 30%. There's been office changes, there's consolidations of different things in there. The German business was cut from, sort of 600 people, and the Spanish business from 600 people to 40 or 50. And those savings and everything else were all started to come through last year, and you'll have the full effect of it in 2018. And then you'll have some sort of trailing effect in 2019. So I think the profitability through the cost-saving exercises will continue to help sort of grow margin in that space. But it's purely cost-saving. It's not anything to do with sort of adding value or creating value.
Okay. And just in terms of the growth business as well, I mean, so again, that has been a bit tough, right? I mean, South Africa has been a drag. Like, I mean, some of the other markets been changing. I mean, what do you think about this business? And I mean, it's around 650 million or so now. I mean, where would that go? Like, where do you think it can be?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the challenges, I think, like many companies, the growth markets were seen as, that's where they were called growth. That's where the growth was expected to come from. The reality is, since those markets were called growth, they've come backwards. I think, there's three big markets within it. There's China, where, a lot of the businesses in China, Wall Street and a business called Gedu, which was a sort of an exam preparation business for people wanting to sort of, go to university in the United States. Both those businesses have been sold. So the business in China is much more sort of an English publishing business. And it's predominantly Hong Kong and Taiwan where the money's generated rather than mainland China. So I think China will continue to be difficult. I think the Hong Kong market, which is, Pearson is the main provider of curriculum for Hong Kong schools, which runs a separate curriculum, continues to be a pretty good business and everything else in there. But I would say China will continue to struggle. And obviously, the whole challenges around China, around government control, around, publishing is very, very hard if you're an international company in China outside English language. I think there's an opportunity in international qualifications. There's more and more private schools opening up in China.